Hello, hello, Capricorn. Welcome to your September 2018 overview reading. This is good for you if you're a sun, moon, or rising Capricorn. So while I'm pulling these oracle cards for you, go ahead and check in with your body, see if there's anything that wants to come up today. Take a few deep breaths into the diaphragm and just get really grounded. If there's any information you would like to have come up during this reading, go ahead and set your intention with that as well. And don't forget, if you are wondering what decks I'm using, they are listed out in the description box, so you can check that out whenever you want. And the links to work with me are also in the description box, so just keep that in mind. Now, go ahead, feel into your sit bones, notice the soles of your feet. And first thing we have coming up for you, Capricorn, is your dignity depends on your will. So this is really looking at your intentions. What do you want? What do you need? Are you living a life that is consistent with your word? Are you operating out of integrity? And are your actions aligned with your desires? Now, the word of the month, don't forget these cards have 3 phrases. So if you notice a phrase that stands out to you, that's your intuition shining through. The word is process. Be curious about how you do it. Find a flow that works for you. Give the work time and space to unfold. Rushing will only delay things further in the end. So be patient with yourself, give yourself some time, and just be curious. That's how you get answers, is not by rushing into things, just by asking the right questions. And the animal spirit card for you is unicorn. This is focusing on vision. So this has to do with the 6th chakra, and that is where you see your next steps. So it's all about looking at what's next, what's on the horizon, what are you building for yourself, what are you constructing for yourself in the astral. Remember, just because it's in your, just because it's visible to you doesn't mean that it's going to materialize in physical form quite yet. Okay, so just place your order. Now, this has to do with love, relationships, romantic and platonic, whether you're in a relationship or not. So we have depth. As new people show up in my life, I look for all the weird, wonderful, complex layers below their surface. I can't be surprised by someone's depth of character unless I'm willing to peel back the outer layers and go a little deeper. It's like the brand new saying goes, don't judge an onion by its haircut. Okay, so really giving people space and time to reveal themselves, and it's kind of like the depth of your relationships that you're experiencing is dependent on you. So it's one of those things, people are comfortable with superficial conversations, some people are comfortable with in-depth conversations, and just find what it is that you want more of and then lead with that. Now, if you've been on my channel for a while, you might recognize this spread. It is the Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs spread. And this base layer that I have here is financial and material resources that you're needing, and then working our way up to self-actualization. So let's go ahead and get started with this. First thing, you have 10 of Torches. When it comes to resources, think about what is too much? Like, what are you taking on that is kind of making things feel out of balance? Are you taking on too many projects? Are you taking on too many responsibilities? Are you taking on more than what is reasonable for you in this point in time? It's just a question worth asking, because the 10 of Torches is kind of like things might be falling all over the place because you're trying to juggle too much. So just try to simplify it for yourself and see if there's anything you can set on the back burner temporarily while you build whatever you need to cultivate resources. Then we also have Temperance. Balance. So when you are when you're doing this work, it's going to be worthwhile to think about where things are out of balance, where you need more structure, organization, where you are really needing to trim the fat, give more to yourself, give more to your work, give more to whatever it is that you're needing, again, to build. But it starts with prioritization. That's why you have the 10 of Torches coming up, and then Temperance, because that's going to help you regulate how much energy you're giving to what. And then we also have the 7 of Shells. This is about options. So you have way more options than you realize. If you're fixating on like your income coming from one specific source, I mean, it can happen through that, but think about how many avenues potential income can come through. So let yourself be open to lots of different possibilities when it comes to how your resources can appear, because we have a limited experience as human beings. And so it's just going to be worth your time to be skeptical and look at things as this could be a lot of different, it could come in a lot of different ways. So just be open to that. And then finally, we have the Lovers. So this is about decisions. Because this is at the base layer of the, when it comes to resources, I really like this Lovers card, by the way. It is representative of the choices and decisions that you're making. What direction are you wanting to go? And again, how are your actions aligned with that? So constantly check in with yourself. If you're talking about wanting success, then, you know, your actions have to match that in order for it to actualize. So just looking at what are the decisions that you're making and how are you communicating what your priorities are through your energy. Okay? Or I should say the allocation of your energy. Now, this right here, this is love, romance, friendship, familial relationships, however you're setting that intention, but this is like that community, your relational experience in the month of September. First thing we have is the 7 of Torches, and I think you're kind of rising to the challenge. Like you kind of have a spotlight in your relationships. Like there's a lot of attention on you in your maybe in your family or in a new partnership experience, or just another community that you're a part of. But it's kind of like you are really, really vibrant in that this month. Then we also have the Queen of Shells. Your relationships will benefit immensely by you practicing consistent self-care, however that looks for you. Self-care is not just bubble baths and pedicures, right? Bubble baths. Sorry. It's also about managing your relationships, boundaries, being clear and direct about what you want, advocating for yourself is a form of self-care, being authentic and expressing yourself is a form of self-care, taking time alone, spending time with friends, not just with a single partner, that is self-care. So remember, it takes on many different shapes. It's not limited to just the way you might see it on Instagram, for example. It's whatever it is that you need it to be. And then we also have the 7 of Feathers. So looking at what makes sense to put in your relationships in present time and what does not. So what is shifting out of your relationships? And this is kind of a collective idea, so I'm going to clarify it because it looks like it's kind of affecting more than one type of relationship. So we have the Fool. It's a new experience you're having in the relationships that are around you. Be open to whatever how do I put this? The new approach that you have found, the new way of dealing with relationships, whatever you need to take away or add, it's a new experience. So the Fool is really good at understanding, hey, I've never done this before. It's okay if I fail forward. It doesn't mean the relationship falls apart. It just means I'm doing things differently. And so I need to experiment with that and kind of work out the bugs and troubleshoot as I go. That's what you're going to be learning with the Seven of Feathers and with the Fool energy sitting in your relationships, is that just because you're trying a new approach doesn't mean it's falling apart. It just means that you kind of have to fumble around it first. Now, your ambition, career, success, kind of the up here is like your acknowledgements. So first thing we have is the Ace of Rocks, initiating something new. This is kind of like that start of a project, that initiation energy, that seed being planted. So that's what you have going on. I think it's kind of going to feel, it's going to feel fresh. Like this looks like a card that the background looks like it's a dawn, like the start of a new day. And so that is what I think is happening in your project. Whatever work you do in the world has this huge push of initiation. And then we also have the Empress. So taking a feminine approach to all things goal-oriented is going to probably yield better results than taking a yang or masculine approach. The reason being is that you're going to have an easier time weeding through the nonsense when you're just focusing on what comes to you easily. The Empress has a really natural gift at calling things to her, and then things that are supposed to be or things that are supposed to exist will be easy. So remember, if you're pushing something and you're being met with increasingly more resistance, then it's something where you might want to consider backing off a bit and reevaluating. So just use that as a cue and an indication of whether or not you're doing the right thing for yourself. In self-actualization, we have the High Priestess. I'm going to clarify this one. I have an idea of what's happening here. I just want to make sure that I'm getting the right message here. Seven of Wands. Okay, so I think that there's this ideal circumstance that you might have around this, or this ideal way that you want to have an approach to all these areas. It might be something where you feel like, if I could just use my intuition through and through for all of these different areas, then that's kind of what you're aiming for. And what I think is that that's going to evolve over time. I think you might find kind of like a staple approach to a lot of these areas, but remember to be flexible. Fluidity is what's going to help you evolve. Rigidity is what's going to hold you back. So remember that this looks really, really idyllic. It looks kind of like a perfect picture when I'm looking at this. Like, this is how I want it to be. This is the approach that I want at all times. But again, that flexibility is what's going to give you an additional edge this month. Now we're going to move into the timeline. First, second, third, and fourth quarter. So the first thing coming up for you in September, this is where you're starting the month, transition, liberation. Okay, so something is shifting for you. This is the Death card in a normal deck. And again, it's kind of like that Seven of Feathers. What isn't working just needs to be set aside. You're doing that so that you can have the things that you desire, so that you can feel in alignment and focus purely on what your vision is, what you're cultivating. And you know, being curious about the process might actually be the transformation for you. Maybe you were a little bit fixated in the way that you wanted things to be. And the transition and liberation is about no longer having that fixation and rather heading more into the feminine, which is allowing. Second quarter of September, we have the star, peace, healing. This is where you're getting the things that you need at this point in time. I just think that you're going to have an easier time getting what you want and kind of heading in the right direction. Again, if you take that feminine approach, if you look at this as a way to kind of easily flow into a state that works for you rather than forcing. So I think that's where the healing comes is, hey, I don't have to work so hard. Hey, I don't have to push so incredibly hard. There is a little bit of giving something room to breathe is where a lot of that can actually occur easily and effortlessly. And then third quarter, we have Two of Crystals, balance, adaptability. I'm also getting a decision coming up towards mid-late September. Maybe having to reprioritize one thing or the other, looking at your options, asking yourself, is this what I want to do? Is this something that I want to continue? It just looks like there's some contemplation showing up here. And wrapping up the month of September, we have Four of Crystals. So control, security, those are the keywords that are showing up for this card. And I think you have it down. It looks like you're able to sit with some sense of consistency here. And I think this is also going to be a good time for you to put a game plan together for kind of like how you're heading into 2019, what you're looking to accomplish. It just looks like this stability is going to be feeding the rest of what you want to accomplish. So take advantage of that. As you all know, we're going to go ahead and do a 3-card pick. Pick a card that works for you, that feels right. Ask a question if you'd like. Card number 1. We have the Devil. Watch your temptations. If you find yourself like feeling like you want to check out or head into unhealthy old behaviors, then just again, check yourself. Your dignity depends on your will. So where you exert your energy is where you're investing, and that's what you're communicating you desire. And so the Devil is kind of that temptation, that hedonistic side of things. And so it's all about being aware that it's there, but noticing when it's not really serving you. Card number 2, we have the Three of Cups. This is about celebration, spending time with friends, enjoying yourself, having a good time, low pressure, lots of fun, lots of enjoyment. I would say connection is going to be a good move for you this month. It might actually help the flow of things if you hang out with some friends, if you take a little bit more playtime this month, because it's kind of gonna, you can take your foot off the gas pedal for a moment and kind of allow all that stuff that you are cultivating to make its way to you easily. Again, it's kind of like the trick here is to allow things to flow and be easy. Card number 3, the Fool. Recognizing you are on a new journey, you are starting a new chapter, you are really transforming yourself. So this is going to be a big month. I like all of this for you. It looks really, really good. Let it be easy. It's okay to fail forward. It's okay to fumble around. It's okay if it's not perfect all the time. You can make mistakes and still get to where you need to go. All right, so that is all that I have for you today. I certainly hope you've enjoyed this reading as much as I've enjoyed reading for you. Thank you so much for everyone who likes and shares and supports my channel. Thank you to everyone who works with me one-on-one. All of the description box has all the links if you want to work with me. You guys are what make this channel possible, and I just appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you so much, and I will talk to you later. Have a good one.